The classroom was silent, so silent that even the buzzing of the fluorescent lights seemed louder than the students' shallow breathing. It wasn't the kind of silence born out of discipline, but the uneasy quiet that follows something terrifying. A 17-year-old boy named Ryan, notorious for being the school's most feared bully, had just shoved his chemistry teacher against the lab bench, his hand wrapped tightly around her throat. The teacher's name was Ms. Daniels. To most of the students, she seemed like a simple woman, quiet, humble, and a little too serious. She never raised her voice, never threatened detention, and never argued back, no matter how much Ryan mocked her in class. But in that moment, when Ryan's hand was pressed against her neck, something shifted in her eyes. It wasn't fear. It was control. Ryan had been picking on smaller students for years. He came from a wealthy family, his father on the school board, his mother chairing fundraising committees. He believed no one could touch him. He shoved kids into lockers, humiliated them in the cafeteria, and used his strength to dominate anyone who dared to look him in the eye. Teachers avoided confrontation. Principals caved under his parents' influence. But that day in the lab, Ryan crossed a line he never should have. At first, the students froze in shock, their eyes darting between Ryan's clenched jaw and Ms. Daniels' calm expression. Nobody dared to move. The fear of Ryan's revenge was too strong. But then, something happened no one expected. With a swift motion, Ms. Daniels placed one hand on Ryan's wrist and another against his shoulder. Before Ryan realized what was happening, she twisted her body, and in one fluid motion, flipped him to the ground. His back slammed against the cold tile floor, and his hand immediately released her throat. She didn't scream. She didn't even look shaken. Instead, she crouched beside him, her voice low but commanding. "Son, I've dealt with people far scarier than you." The class gasped. Ryan scrambled to stand, his ego burning hotter than his body. "You can't touch me!" "My dad." But before he could finish, Miss Daniels cut him off. "Your dad doesn't run this classroom. And you don't either." Her voice was like steel, measured, unshaken, and full of a kind of authority that none of them had ever heard before. The truth came out later that week. Ms. Daniels wasn't just any teacher. Before becoming an educator, she had served 10 years in the military. She was a decorated combat veteran who had seen real battles, who had endured real fear, and who had learned discipline and self-control most civilians would never understand. When she left the service, she didn't retire into weakness. She chose to teach because she believed knowledge could change lives more powerfully than weapons. But Ryan, blinded by arrogance, had underestimated her. The school administration tried to handle the incident quietly. Ryan's parents demanded Ms. Daniels' resignation, claiming she had used excessive force against their son. But the students had seen everything. For once, they weren't afraid to speak up. One by one, kids who had been bullied for years stood before the board, telling stories of Ryan's cruelty, shoved books, stolen lunches, bruises hidden under sleeves. The truth painted a picture so dark that even his parents couldn't deny it anymore. Miss Daniels faced her own challenge, too. As calm as she had been in the moment, she knew she had risked her career by defending herself. She questioned whether her military instincts had cost her the future she was trying to build. She didn't want to be known as the soldier, teacher. She wanted to be known as someone who cared about her students. And yet, deep down, she also knew she had done the right thing. The final decision came 2 weeks later. Ryan was expelled. Not just for the assault on Ms. Daniels, but for years of documented bullying that the school could no longer ignore. His parents tried to move him to another district, but the story had spread. His reputation followed him. The arrogance that had once made him untouchable had now destroyed him. As for Ms. Daniels, she kept her job. In fact, she gained more respect than ever. Students who once stayed silent began opening up to her, not just about bullies, but about their own struggles. She became more than a chemistry teacher. She became a mentor, someone who showed them that strength didn't always mean fists and shouting. Sometimes strength meant patience, discipline, and the ability to stay calm when others tried to provoke chaos. Ryan's career as the school's untouchable bully ended that day in the lab. But for Ms. Daniels, it was just the beginning of something greater. She had proven that no matter how powerful a bully thinks they are, they can never win against someone who refuses to be broken. And as her students learned, courage doesn't always look like a soldier on a battlefield. Sometimes, it looks like a teacher standing tall in a classroom, reminding everyone that real strength is the ability to protect, not to harm. The lesson was unforgettable. The bully lost everything. But the students gained something far more important: hope.